The prominence of the Chinese market in the determination of the North American film industry is a subject which I'm sure everyone with half a brain is well aware of at this point. It stands to reason, especially for blockbuster filmmaking, that if the Communist Party of China doesn't want to see your movie, you're probably not going to get your money back, which is probably why the highest grossing movie of the year so far is fucking XXX The Return of Xander Cage, but I digress. As a proving ground for potential cinematic universes, the Chinese market either keeps the stagnant money puddles from running dry or dashes those potential 10-year sequel deals about the rocks like a hapless kitten across a bloody well-worn tree stump just to prove a point to your asshole stepdad. Wait, what? Anyways, the faucet of Hollywood recently released from its weekly purge 3 films which coincidentally are all significantly more interesting to analyze as products of the contemporary film industry than they are to watch, and I say that having actually liked A Cure for Wellness. Besides that, there were Fist Fight, a comedic take on the American public education system which probably won't be all that funny 2 or 3 years from now, and perhaps most obviously, acclaimed Chinese director Zhang Yimou's The Great Wall. But first, let's address the white elephant in the room. White people. We kinda suck sometimes. Being myself whiter than freshly packed snow leopard jizz, I think I can comfortably assert that. Matt Damon's controversial portrayal of a European soldier who becomes deeply embroiled in a specifically Chinese conflict is something that you would have every right to be upset about if you were an irrational, inconsiderate dipshit who more than likely has not seen the movie yet. Having actually been there, it seems kinda pathetic in retrospect that this was ever even a remotely big deal to begin with. It's kind of underwhelming in all honesty. I mean, sure, anybody with sense 1 in their head would have done the math and figured out that a Chinese movie made by a Chinese director, funded by Chinese production companies, and starring hundreds of Chinese actors alongside 2 white guys and a Chilean might not be as much of a slap in the face to the spirit of diversity as a bunch of fucking idiots would believe, even if it were the case that it was written almost exclusively by white people. Which it was. Despite that, outside of maybe 3 brief scenes where Matt Damon has to rescue somebody, the overall sensibility of the film is more akin to Chinese self-canonization, to the point that it actually starts getting ridiculous. Not only is every feat of engineering on display in the film explicitly a result of Chinese ingenuity, but Matt Damon's literal character arc is learning to rid himself of the selfishness and arrogance that he, as a soldier of whatever fucking European country his awful accent would suggest, inherently possesses and embraces the ideas of the morally superior Chinese, further backed by the fact that Chinese characters are constantly monologuing on the virtues of trust, loyalty, and companionship, while half of Damon's lines are him nodding his head, pursing his lips, and saying, "You know what, you're right," to the beat of the movie's drum. Because of this, The Great Wall became more of a tough sit than I originally anticipated. It's so self-serving in its own eccentric existence as what is essentially a pro-Chinese propaganda piece that it occasionally forgets it's a movie rather than a keynote speech. Now, is it professionally unethical of a film critic to color their opinion of a film based on what they perceive the creator's intent to be? Absolutely not, but it's also important that the film be judged on merit as well. And in that regard, the film that The Great Wall most closely resembles is that World War Z adaptation from a few years ago that you probably forgot existed. And not just because they had more or less the same writer. If it weren't obvious enough from that scene in the trailers where all the lizard monsters pile on top of each other like it's Black fucking Friday and they're out trampling grandmas to get the last Nintendo Switch, then it also helps that the characters are thinly written, the story is bland and contrived, and the action is so clustered and dense that you couldn't cut it even with a glowing 1,000-degree knife. Now, of course, it would have been foolish of me to expect quality storytelling from a movie such as this. Like most legendary productions, the story is mostly just a vehicle for cool CGI visuals to happen. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it does both. The Great Wall definitely falls into the third category, and what that means exactly is that when the movie is in full spectacle mode, most of the time it does its job admirably by wowing the audience with the sheer scale of the images on screen. However, at other times, the visuals are left distractingly out of focus and occasionally look downright unfinished, which is especially odd considering that the movie's been out in China for almost 3 months. You'd think somebody would have noticed that shit and we could have shored up some extra post-pro in time for the stateside release had Chinese news conglomerates not been censoring negative reviews, which is also a thing that definitely did happen. Welcome to the modern world. In the end, I suppose The Great Wall is exactly what it wanted to be. It's the Chinese answer to the American big summer blockbusters, and as such, it's essentially just another American big summer blockbuster, but with a bunch of Chinese people in it. Nothing more, nothing less. It pretends to have a point, but it knows it's not fooling anyone. It's dumb fun with significantly more dumb than fun, and all the cross-cultural analysis in the world won't mean jack shit to 99.9% of people watching it, so you might as well just sit down, shut up, grab your popcorn, and just fucking roll with it. Fun doesn't have to be dumb, but apparently that shit doesn't sell anymore. Oh well.